watching Movie Guide. I'm your host, Abby Bear Carroll. We're at the red carpet of Lifemark at the Museum of the Bible. This is a wonderful true story brought to you by Kirk Cameron and the Kendrick brothers. Let's take a look. So how much prayer went into this movie, seeing as, you know, people have strong opinions one way or another? Just had to have a lot of prayer, right?
Well, every movie that we do, and the movies that the Kendricks do, are always soaked in prayer. We'd pray every morning before we started work. But this is really an answer to prayer because our nation is in a place right now where we need to know, how do we look with love and compassion on a tender topic like an unplanned pregnancy, rather than fighting about it and just turning it into a political feud. Let's tell a true story about a young girl who was in this situation, and she chose to place her child for adoption rather than abort him. And what resulted from that is just amazing. And I can't believe this is a true story. We couldn't have written a script as good as this. It's going to just grab your heart. It grabbed ours, and we know that it's going to resonate with people all across the country.
How does it make you feel to walk down the red carpet with your daughter?
It feels so great. Absolutely love being with my daughter.
Love it. I love it. I love being a supporter. And the concept of adoption. It's a beautiful story about adoption. How would you like people to kind of receive the story?
So often this issue of pro-life, pro-choice is focused on one thing, and that is a woman's rights. And a woman's rights are important. But that's not all that's important. Addressing of that whole situation must also include the life of this innocent human baby in her womb. And there's also a birth father involved. And there's thousands and thousands of couples who long to have children and start a family but are unable to. So Lifemark is a story that's full of heart and humor and action. People are going to watch this and they're going to leave with their hearts full. And they're going to have an increased love for life and a new perspective on the beauty of adoption.
So you guys are an interesting role this time because you're kind of standing alongside a new director, right?
Yes. Kevin Peoples is a super talented guy. He did the behind the scenes on War Room and Overcomer. And so we're excited about pouring into the next generation. And so he brought a lot of original ideas to this storyline. And we've said that we've gone from quarterbacking on the field to coaching on the sidelines and cheering on other guys around us. And so we're excited about the way the movie turned out.
Now, this was an interesting film, right? Because it's got a lot of people believing one side or the other, and everybody's super strong on those opinions. And I even know you guys had kind of some studio opposition, if you're willing to talk about what went on there.
Well, that's why we want to let a true story speak for itself, and we want to present it with truth and compassion. So it's not a political movie. It's just telling something that really happened. So the fact that this young teenage girl at the time decides, I'm not aborting this baby, I'm going to let this baby be adopted, and to see how that baby turned out. He's now 26 years old, and he is a lawyer that helps other families adopt children. And for him to go back and say thank you to his biological mother was so beautiful. And of course, there's some other twists and turns along the way, but we said, let's just tell the story of what really happened. Let it speak for itself. So Lifemark is just a beautiful, powerful movie we think is going to impact the audience.
Exactly. It's a testimony. It's someone's story. It's a personal story. So you guys have done well. It's really good. So I commend you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, we can't wait for people to see it. Again, if they come out the week that it's in theaters, it will expand. So we're encouraging people to see it the first week.
So this is an interesting moment for you, right? Because isn't the movie based on your life?
Oh my gosh, it's surreal. To go from a kid who never wanted to share that he was adopted to now having the documentary and the movie. I mean, I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to have life.
So because of that, how does it make you feel like that your story can impact other people?
We've seen people visibly be impacted by our story ever since the I Live in Parker Avenue documentary released in 2018. It's impacted adoptees and birth parents and adoptive parents in ways we never would have imagined. And one of my favorite stories, I was speaking at a high school in California, and this girl, it was a big gym, and I was doing a Q&A. And I saw this girl in the corner, try to raise her hand, and then she put it back down, up and down. And I knew she wanted to share something. She finally got up and shared for the first time in front of her entire school that she was adopted. And until then, she felt like she couldn't share that. So this story is impacting others in ways we never would have imagined. So Lifemark now coming out and being in theaters nationwide, we're just so excited.
Hey, isn't that so biblical that God uses someone who like wants to be private, but then like, here you go.
Absolutely. Never would have expected it.
How does this help your, faith grow during this time period and all that stuff?
It's my faith has grown a lot in the past few years. Just being able to trust that God is using the story in a way that I can't comprehend yet. And I mean, you've seen God work through the story ever since 1993, when my birth mother left an abortion clinic. And you've seen him now, help us reunite. And so to see him working through the story to impact others, I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Now, this is an interesting time period for this movie to come out, which is actually kind of, God ordained as well. Because you guys making the movie, you didn't expect it even to come out during this time period. But what would you kind of say to that point?
This wasn't planned. Let me just say that, right? I mean, this is just God's providential timing. This movie was supposed to happen a few years ago, and then, like all things, COVID, caused a delay. And the fact that it's now happening at this moment in time, this shows the fact that God is working through the story. This movie will save lives, and it will build families through adoption.
How exciting is it to be here right now?
I am freaking out. Like, I'm maybe kind of calm and collective right now, but maybe I'm not. Maybe it's coming across that I'm actually freaking out. No, this is insane. And, yeah.
So talk about the whole, coming to the film and, the whole process of it.
Oh, my goodness.
It was presented to you.
Well, I actually found it through a casting site, which is usually you have an agent that recommends you to the casting director and stuff like that. I found it on this casting call. I had 4 auditions. 4 auditions before I got the role.
Okay.
The Kendricks and Kirk Cameron reached out to me, and each time I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. This isn't real. I'm dreaming. I try to pinch myself. I still pinch myself to this day to wake myself up. And then they got me on a Zoom call, and they were like, how would you feel playing a minor role in the film? Not a significant role, but a minor role. I'm like, any opportunity to work with you guys, I would be the Uber Eats guy to bring you guys pizza.
That was a good attitude.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, that's really great to hear, except that's not the case because you're going to be the lead in the movie. I'm like, what? So
it sounds like you were really connected to the Kendrick brothers. Had you seen their work? Are you into the faith world?
yeah, I've been a huge fan of them ever since Facing the Giants. That's the first one that I remember. I never got into Flywheel just because it was before my time. But Facing the Giants, my family was all into it. When I saw War Room in theaters, I walked out of that theater crying my eyes out. I was like, this is such a powerful message, because it's not even that it's the best Christian film ever, but it's the message that prayer always prevails.
Yeah.
And just their messages, they hit close. So.
And this one has such a deep message about adoption, and so talk more about that.
Yeah, and it's what's so cool is that I know so many people myself that are adopted, and I know that this project's going to mean a lot to them.
You're adopted?
No, I'm not adopted. No, that'd be cool.
That's another level, right?
Shit, no. I am not adopted. But I know so many people that are adopted, and really just the steps to take, if they would go and meet their birth parents, if that's a possibility, I would highly recommend it. I know that it's not for everybody, but I know that, it's just a miracle to see that this is based on a true story and to see it all play out in the way it did. And none of this is it's not that we're making this stuff up. This is a real event that happened, and we get to celebrate it and recreate it and inspire people with the story.
This is a testimony, somebody's testimony, their life story, and it's talking about heavy issues that are in today's day. Do you want to talk about those things, or
the heavy things in today, or
just the pro-life cause and stuff?
Oh yeah. Well, and it just so happens that the pro-life element is in this story, and I would say that this isn't specifically a pro-life film, but it's a pro-love, it's pro-family, and just to see that that's the stance that the Kendricks would take, and they're going the extra mile to make sure that this happens, and they don't care if people come at them or attack them or whatever. We're not trying to attack anyone with the story. We're trying to encourage and love people and show that there's hope for people, just like there was hope for people in this story.
We did. I am actually a fraud. I'm not a real redhead. I apologize to all the real redheads out there. It's just for the role, but we just felt...
Why?
We looked at the character and felt like we needed some differentiation between him and David. And, my friend Raphael and I both have brown eyes, or brown hair, and it's short, clean cut. So it kind of felt a little bit better to make a wild redhead.
Now that you say that, you could look like brothers. Now that
I hope so. He's a handsome guy, so I take that as a compliment.
Okay, so I really enjoyed your character because I felt like he brought some comic relief to, kind of a heavy subject, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what did you like about the character coming in?
I have always been more acute to being a comedic role, and I love that type of energy that a character like that can bring to the film. But being able to look at this script and see that it's such a powerful message that needs to be shared, and having that entertainment value in the midst of such an amazing message was a real blessing to me. And Nate goes through some interesting things as well in the film. I won't give it away, but it was a heavy time to be a comedic character and to have a character that's going through all of these different challenges. And so it was a fun opportunity to step into being funny and then also being emotional. So.
How was it for you working with the Kendrick brothers? Had you worked with them before?
I have not worked with the Kendrick brothers before. My brother Jack was in Overcomer. He plays Alex Kendrick's son, Ethan Harrison. And I had an opportunity to meet them and to get to know them a little bit before we shot this movie. But this was my first experience, and I walked onto set, immediately was prayed over. We were excited to be there and have the opportunity just to get to know people that have made films that have really impacted my heart as a believer and as someone who wants to be a powerful filmmaker in general. And watching them do it, it's the best example that I could ever ask for.
So talk to me about your character in Lifemark.
My character is the biological mom, Melissa. She's a courageous, strong, bold woman who's also vulnerable. She's really real. And so she felt the pressure that was on her in the moment, and at the last second was able to say yes to life.
This is an amazing story because your character really is kind of the pushing point, right? Because she gets in touch with him, and then he kind of has to make a decision.
She did. Well, she contacted to update her information, and from there they presented that opportunity, and he said yes. This movie is all about saying yes. And that's what I love about it, is when you say yes, the opportunities are there, the destinies are there, the families are there, the adopted family received David. It's just beautiful.
And what do you think about the theme right now during, everything going on right now?
Right now, I believe it brings the relevance to the table again to where we can really evaluate this and say, what do we choose instead of what has gone on in the past? What do we choose? And actually, we're going back to the beginning. When life was valuable and families helped each other, communities helped each other. So this family stepped in. Melissa stepped in for this family to receive David, and the Coltons or the Scottons stepped in to receive David. Yeah.
And did you get to interact with the real family and kind of connect with them?
I did. Melissa and I actually became friends a year before I received the part. So we talked, we went over her documentary. I lived on Parker Avenue, hers and David's. David actually did it. And so we went through moment by moment. It took 3.5 hours to go through 30 minutes documentary. And I learned why she felt what she was feeling. And it was beautiful. I loved her before I played her.
And she is a big catalyst for everything because she's kind of leading him into the direction of approaching his mom, right? Biological mom.
Yes. So what's interesting about her, I'm an adoptive mom myself of 4 of 5 children, and I think that Susan's much more generous of a person than I am because she's like cheerleading him the whole way to meet his birth mom. And I think that's a little scary, right? And I honestly think that's kind of part of the beauty of this film is to sort of tease that out, right? As adoptive moms, are we okay with birth kids meeting? And we really should be.
How is it for you? Because it has such a personal connection to you. How was it doing the film?
As an actor, you sometimes use what's called substitution, right? So if your dog died, you can actually bring that and to substitute it for whatever scenario. Well, guess what? I had some really raw, awesome, authentic emotions that I could plug right in. So in that sense, it was really seamless to be able to bring the emotion to it. And I had 2 miscarriages. I'm telling way too much information. Anyway, I had 2 miscarriages before my adoption. And the sense of loss that Susan had, I recognized that. And the fear of being hopeful again, right? So all that emotion has to play. So really, we want our audience to know that those emotions are okay, that it's completely normal to be scared, to be hopeful again, right?
Tell me about your character.
Hi. So I play Melissa at the age of 18 when she finds out that she's pregnant, and so I get to portray her at probably the most difficult and vulnerable time of her life. So
So your character has a line where it's like, or a theme, kind of about this fishing. What was that all about? Like, what was it that she really connected to Melissa? I mean, to.
Yeah. Well, Melissa is just that type of woman. She loves fishing. She loves being in the outdoors. And we really wanted to reflect that with the character because it's actually really important to the story of how her love for fishing led her to choose the adopted mother that she ended up choosing. And you'll have to go see it on September 9th to know what I'm talking about. And so we really wanted to incorporate that because it really is so important. We didn't just put it in there for no reason, you know.
And what about this theme about adoption? How did that touch you?
I mean, my family has adopted so many children. So many of my friends are adopted. My godmother is here tonight, and she's adopted. So the subject of adoption is really important to me, and that's what drew me in, honestly.
That's a wrap from the red carpet of Lifemark. Make sure to check out the full review at movieguide.org.